schools. Where is that?
Education is the best legacy. Education is the key to success. Education is power.
The city of Abeokuta, introducing Solar Distinct Group of Schools.
The citadel of knowledge with the aim of making students legends by empowering them with the key to success. We have conducive classrooms, standard science laboratory, modern boarding facilities, and many more. Solar Distinct College is opposite Crown Royal Hotel, Abiolawe, Abeokuta, Ogun State. Telephone numbers are 080-343-86383 or 080-644-74033.
Solar Distinct College, the school with distinction.
Good day, viewers at home. Once again, I welcome you to another edition of our Sincere Talk on this channel, SDTV channel. Today in the house, I have a guest, and together we shall be looking at a topic which I believe has the power to make and to mark the standard of education in our society. The proliferation of schools. Is it a cause or a blessing to the standard of education? But before we go into this, like I said, I have a guest in the house. The name of my guest is Elder Clement Shuneye. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for welcome.
You're welcome, sir. Once again, the proliferation of schools in our society. Before now, I am very sure, talk of schools. To found the schools, it started with the missionaries. But when they left, they handed it over to the government. But now, when we look at what is happening in our society, before you walk 2-3 kilometers, you will come around, come about 10-15 schools, either primary or secondary. Sir, what can you say about this?
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
In Nigeria, like other African countries, the law permits ownership of educational institutions, like these schools, by public and private schools. Schools that are run by government are called public schools, while those schools that are not operated by government are known as private schools. In most states, the educational sector is structured under 3 major levels, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. There is also the trend of catching them young, that is pre-primary schools level in some countries, Nigeria inclusive. Nigeria's ability to realize our vision of becoming one of the largest 20 economies in the world by the year 2035 is largely dependent on the capacity to transform our population into highly skilled citizens capable of competing globally. Over the years, it has been alleged that there is a considerable decline in Nigeria in learning in Nigeria. Poor teaching and learning in public schools across the country is an issue that needs urgent and decisive attention. Several private-owned schools sprang up in the early 1990s. Many of them were being considered as unregistered by government, and the standard of delivery was poor. This paper is set out to examine what school profession has done to the standard of education in Nigeria. Private schools are classified as independent schools or non-state schools. They are not administered by local, state, or national government. Therefore, they retain the right to employ qualified teachers to handle the subject effectively and efficiently for good of their students. Private schools are funded in their whole or in part by charging their students tuition rather than relying on mandatory taxation through the public government. And some private schools students may be able to get a scholarship which makes the cost cheaper depending on the talent of the student.
All right. So I have this question to ask. Based on what you have said so far, I realize that one of the reasons why there is need for more schools, is probably we look at the structure and the quality of the teachers that we have. But then I know of, or let me say I've heard of schools, secondaries, when you get there, you will see a teacher taking up to 5 subjects. Compared to public school, I am very sure in some public school you have a teacher that only teaches, a peer of a class. So where is the standard? What do you think that is taking us, to?
Okay, let me quickly go to National Policy on Education.
Okay, sir.
There are 5 objectives here, which are very important. A free and democratic society, that is 1. A just and legal society. 3. A united, strong, and self-reliant nation. 4. A great dynamic economy. And 5. A land of right and full opportunities for all students. See, all these objectives, to achieve this objective, the policy said that the quality of instruction at all levels of education has to be oriented towards inculcating the values among others, respect the dignity of labor, and share responsibility. Let me go back to your questions. Now, you see, there are some mismanagement in the country as well. Like I went to Ajegunle side, maybe about a week ago. Okay. The government has not done to the full. In those areas, there are so many areas there, no single public school there, both primary and secondary schools. So we just have to thank God for a proliferation being done by the private schools. If not because of that, we have so many children, we have so many population. Where will these people go? You understand what I'm saying? Like we are saying, it is true that in public schools, the teachers that will handle the students. But let me tell you, I want to correct one thing there. In public schools, we come and see a teacher handling about 200 or 300 in the class. Like on some science subjects, mathematics, and other physics, chemistry, and biology subjects. It's not done in private schools. The ratio of teacher to pupils in private schools are very good. You understand what I'm saying? They have limited number of people there, and they will understand even more than the public schools. I'm telling you the real fact. Because when you want to mark just ordinary 100 scripts of one student, maybe even in the teacher may be teaching SS 1, 2, 3. Let me talk of mathematics. Is there anything good there? Why can the teacher, even they will not mark the whole thing? The teacher teaching up to 400 students, and you want him to give an exam and mark. But in private school, we have limited people there. And we see that facilities are there. Not all schools. I'm telling you, in public schools, private schools are even better in terms of infrastructure.
But sir, when you talk of the infrastructure, I want to agree with you, but at the same time, I want to say, because I know of some private schools, that if you only look at the structure, outside, you may not know what they have within.
Yes.
There are some private schools, you look at the building from outside, you look at the gate of the school and things like that, they are well to do.
Yes.
But once you enter, look at their laboratories. It can be compared, to a kitchen, an empty kitchen rather. Understand? And even when you enter the classroom, you see that the environment is not that conducive, for students to learn. But the point that I'm trying to make is that although in some public school, even recently we know that there have been, limited number of teachers compared to the number of students that we have. But then, can we now say that is one of the reasons that we have, countless number of schools springing up every day? And I mean, at the same time, I want to ask you this question. Do governments have, is there any way whereby government can checkmate the activities or the affairs of these private schools?
Then we now go back to Ministry of Education. Yes. In order to checkmate all these things, under supervision, supervisors are no more going out again. And there are so many reasons to it. No vehicle to move about. No monthly, we call it impress. Impress for them to go out, it's not there.
So all these materials are not available.
They are not available. So this is really telling on the schools. We have, in fact, in this Abeokuta alone, we have many unregistered schools because there are some standards the Ministry of Education may put down that before you can establish a schools, you have to follow it. But let me tell you, if you go to all the proprietors, some of them may be market women. Some of them, what they know is that there is money in there.
Who just have interest to make the money.
But they are not, they are illiterate. So they believe in those money. They want to grab from people. You understand what I'm saying? So that this thing also is also contributing to the progression of private schools. In what I've mentioned before, I said no single primary school there. No single primary school, no secondary school there. So I just want to thank the people that have established something there. But the problem is this. You cannot compare them. We have some schools with what you have mentioned, that they have all the facilities, they have everything, but they may not be qualified teachers.
Sure.
Like one person told me, looking for a chemistry teacher, and we have not seen chemistry teacher today. So there are some subjects that we need to look at. You know what I'm saying? Qualified teachers, very, very important in schools. You just don't employ any teachers. For public schools, they don't just employ, they have to employ the qualified teachers. But in most of these private schools, there are so many unqualified teachers still teaching the people. And at the end of the day, the graduates will not get anything. And they will not join the world, which will also be bastardizing the standard of education in the whole country. I just pray that government should come up, sit up, to know what, before you, there are so many, like when I was coming now, I saw a school there. I said, is this a school? This is my first time I was seeing the school. I don't know, I didn't stop, but I'm sure it's a primary school, but I'm very sure, if you look in deep, it's not registered schools. It's unregistered schools. And I cannot blame this education. When facilities are not provided for them, materials are not provided to move around. No, what do you call it? Want to impress? I'm telling you, this thing started many years ago. Since Daniel, no more impress. If you look at what is happening, I will tell you, we are now in October. Let us know the impress the government has released for the supervisors to move around. Not that we don't have supervisors, but no vehicle.
They have not been fully funded.
They're not well funded. This is another thing that is probably the whole thing. Another issue I want to talk about is in private schools again, the money, salary, if you want to compare the salary of public and secondary schools now, I mean, probably government schools is, in fact, I'm sure that is why most people always run away. But I'm telling you, it's not like that. It's not like that in Lagos. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I have some people there. They don't do government work. They have their buildings at what do you call this? Babadoko. Come and see what the money they collect, because he's a mathematician. It doesn't depend on one school alone. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So these qualified teachers in some states, they are enjoying. They don't even want to work for government. They like private school because they have to move from one school to another to teach.
Then in that area, sir, sorry to cut you short. In that area, if a teacher is well paid, sir, I think such a teacher would want to teach with all his or her strength. And the effect, will be felt, in students. So let's see. A teacher that is not well paid, not well remunerated, don't you see the effect of that maybe at the end? Because, like we do say, you say the end justifies the means. Now, in private schools, so to say, when teacher is not qualified, we have, teachers that are not qualified in private school. What do you, see happen or happening at the end? Maybe a student sit for examination and came out with poor results. Who is to be blamed?
Then the problem is this. Now, I think being the public schools being run by government is well prepared for. You see that we shall have limited private schools. But when we don't have that, we just have to thank the private owners, because if not, you just will see our children roaming about the streets. For saying we're not paid, well, I'm telling you, that is why it is very important for what I've mentioned before, that people will move around and there. When you know that you are not well paid, but what you see, we call it part-time teachers. What I'll be doing now, just give me some hours so that I'll be able to go to another school. And it is very difficult again to put everything on the parents. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you want to get more children in your schools, you don't need to increase your tuition. You understand? You have to pay because it is the tuition that the parents paid that we can use to pay the teachers. But now, they are not well paid. You get what I'm saying? But they have all the facilities. But I'm telling you, if such thing does not rectify, it will even affect the student. Like you said, at the end of the day, the student they will produce will not be okay. Sure. And they will come and join the society. So the best thing is to look for another way around. Like I've seen so many schools, apart from doing something, they establish another thing. They are producing pure water. They are producing a lot of things. Like if I can remember, this school itself, you have a pure water factory before. I don't know, maybe it's now used for the SDTV. If you look at backup universities, you have backup water everywhere. They are just doing to assist so that they will pay the lecturers. You understand? And let me tell you, if you embark on say, yes, this is what you pay for your student, and they are coming out with flying colors, parents will not bother to look for money and pay for those institutions, and everything will now be okay.
I agree with you. But then I think one of the reasons that I want to say, even now, I know of parents that would prefer their words attend private school than public schools. But if you ask me, I want to say that 90% of the teachers that we have, or let's say 80% of them, attended public schools.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
And they did well. You see, the facilities were on ground then. And I still want to believe now that the facilities, in some public schools are still on ground to some extent.
Well, if not old, I'm telling you, if not old, because what happened is that they are obsolete.
All right. So before we continue, let us go on a commercial break.
Okay.
When we return, by the time we come back, we continue with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not happy with the children's performance in the studies.
How do you mean?
They can't spell simple words or even speak good English. I have spent a lot in their present school.
Really? What do you plan to do?
I think I need to change the school immediately.
You want to change their school. Why not bring them to Solar Distinct Group of School?
Solar Distinct Group of Schools. Where is that?
Education is the best legacy. Education is the key to success. Education is power.
The city of Abeokuta, introducing Solar Distinct Group of Schools.
The citadel of knowledge with the aim of making students legends are empowering them with the key to success. We have conducive classrooms, standard science laboratory, modern boarding facilities, and many more. Solar Distinct College is opposite Crown Royal Hotel, Abiolawe, Abeokuta, Ogun State. Telephone numbers are 080-343-86383 or 080-644-74033. Solar Distinct College, the school with distinction.
Alright, welcome back, viewers at home. Still on Sincere Talk, and like I said earlier, the topic that we are looking at today is that the proliferation of schools, a cause of blessings. You have heard it, from my guest. He had mentioned reasons why more schools are needed. But then, because of our time, let us briefly look at the positive effects of this proliferation of schools in our society. Do you think having more schools has, any positive effects to to develop the standard of our education?
Yes, we need it. You need to support it. That we have some blessings on that population. Let me talk of supervision. Okay. I want to start with supervision. You supervise teachers that are well supervised, even the students and so on. They are well supervised in private schools and the public schools. You know the time you open here. When you go to public school, they will not get to school until 9 or 10. when there is no proper supervision. But in private schools, you see that these students will come very early, they stay in the school because of what? The supervision. It is one of the strategies for improving quality of the schools and ensuring that education objectives when you supervise very well. The other point is discipline. Let me tell you what is now going on in let me say in Ogun State, where students are being beating teachers. When you have that in private school, it's not possible because the teachers are disciplined, the students are also disciplined. You know what I'm saying? So these are one advantage in state. Unfortunately, there is no way, because of our population, if not because of private schools, how can we cater for this thing? Because people are increasing population keep on increasing, and we have limited school being run by government. If not because of these private schools, where will we put them? Our own case will not be like that of the north, where they say they should go out and bring washing over the cows and so on like that. But we just see that because of most of the private schools, they are helping much to cater for. Look at the falling standard that we are carrying everywhere here. It's not done in this because supervision is helping in private schools. So blessings of profession is very good as of now. It's very important. We need it and it should continue to cater for so many areas where government cannot even plan schools. There are so many areas. I'm telling you, even in this Abeokuta, not so many areas. We have population, no public schools, not whatsoever. There are so many people that have retired, government has not replaced them. And this led to private schools being given out, establishing schools in all these areas. So they have helped a lot, the government, they have helped a lot in everywhere. And look at let me have the other one. Okay. No strike in private schools. But in public schools, you absolutely just strike. Go on strike and so on, but it's not done in private schools.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'll look at it now. You mentioned about positive effects of having more schools. Like you mentioned that with the proliferation of schools, teachers are well monitored, both in public and in private school. And also that teachers are disciplined too. Yes. Most especially, although teachers in public school too are disciplined. Because I've seen, many of them time without number. And at the same time too, you have talked about the availability, provision of more schools through the proliferation of schools. Are they being public? Private school are not on ground. Only God knows what will happen to the larger part of the population where public schools are not available. And with this, one cannot but also appreciate that more schools are coming up every day. But nevertheless, I am still of the opinion, as our people used to say, that whatever that is worth doing at all, is worth doing well. Fine, we are having more schools every day, every time. But I think things should be done to see to it that we are not just having schools for having sake, but their influence on how to improve the standard of education should be felt. Like I said the other time, I can't just imagine getting to a school without library or with an empty library. You don't expect all students to have textbooks. Some will go to the library and get a textbook to read. But the reverse happens to be the case. When you have no library, some laboratories are nothing but compared to an empty kitchen. But I want to say this: there is no public school without laboratories. What you have there may not be enough. So these are things that I think the society, when I say society, I am trying to generalize it, that society should do the needful to see to it that the standard of education in our country is developed. A friend of mine, who marks WAEC marking a couple of weeks ago, showed to me, and I see out of 100 a candidate scoring 10, 11, over 100. A student that has spent good 60 years in secondary school. So what do you think that says to the standard of education?
Yeah.
It's like it's even better off sitting at home. So the point still remains. One cannot overemphasize the importance of, proliferation. But at the same time, the teachers, the students, parents, society, government should do the needful. Every one of us.
You mentioned one thing which I want to emphasize.
All right.
There are schools without library.
Sure.
I'm telling you the fact. Library is very, very important in schools. Library is very important in schools. But schools nowadays, they don't even recognize it. If you even you'll be seeing old books there. No current textbooks, books in the library again. So that library is very important. You understand? Then also you have mentioned a lot of people that have to take impact, like the parents, the society. But what I'm hearing, I don't know. It is true. Because when a teacher beats a student in the school, he now went home to tell the parents now come back to start embarrassing the teachers, and the Minister of Education is now saying that you should not cane and so on. All these things should stop if you want proper standard education.
Actually, we look at a topic of that nature, I think, a couple of weeks back on this channel. And in future, I know we'll look at the indiscipline among students.
Yeah.
In future, probably who should be blamed? Parents, teachers, society, or the student themselves. We'll look at that. Because all these has a lot to do having good standard of education. Once again, viewers at home, I know you must have learned one or two things from today's topic, Proliferation of Schools, a cause of blessings to the standard of education. You all agree with me that it is important for any society or nation that wants to exist. Such nation cannot joke with the standard of its education. That is why we all need to do the needful to make sure that the standard of our education keeps on improving every day. And this has to be done by all of us, either the teachers, the government, parents, students, and everyone. So once again, I have had, I'm having in the house once again, Elder Clement Shoneye is the one that I have today. He's a retired director of education, SUBEB. Once again, I want to say you're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And I believe whenever we call you would answer our call.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, I remain Olatunji Elijah. Thank you, and keep on watching SD TV. Have a nice day.